Welcome, everybody, to AppStories. We have another edition of our special WWDC 2023 series of episodes. I've got Federico Vitici with me.
Hello again. Hi.
And I, of course, am John Voorhees, and we are joined by Alex Gio. Hey, Alex.
Hey, guys. I'm back again.
Federico, I have a very important follow-up for you.
Very important follow-up.
Yes, yesterday I was maligned. Someone said that I lose things. You did, I think, and I did not lose my baseball hat. I found it in the back of my rental car, and it was so. I also, I got to clear Mike's name too because Mike did not steal it. In fact, it was in the back seat of my car.
Okay, yeah. What Drexel was it? A Drexel baseball cap? Go Dragons, right?
Yeah, you got it down. Yeah, the Drexel Dragons. That's John Gruber's alma mater, but it's also where my son goes to college. So I got my hat back.
Mike was listening live. Have you considered the possibility that after hearing that we knew we were on to him, or that he knew we were on him, he came and dropped it back in your car?
Broke into your car and dropped the hat where it belonged?
I think that's probably the most likely situation.
Wow, that's possible. Wow. Boy, I just opened up the chat. I'm seeing a picture of MKBHD wearing Vision Pro, and he looks a little creepy.
Well, we'll talk about that. So, all right. So I tried the Vision Pro yesterday. So it was this demo experience that at Apple Park, and I don't know, maybe I can take you guys through the setup of the thing because I'm working on a story. I'm taking my time. You must have seen other first impression videos, articles, and I just figured, and this is like my philosophy for what we do in general. I cannot be as fast as other websites or video makers. It's just not who I am. I'm not a fast writer, and I need to think about stuff. So I figured, let me sleep on it. Let me think about it. I want to have a personal perspective about it and sort of try to convey with words how I feel. I had this demo, and in the demo process, they take you through this setup, which I don't know if the final product will have this sort of setup, but here's how it works. They give you an iPhone, and it's running a guided onboarding flow similar to Face ID. You scan your face, essentially, just like with Face ID, and then you scan your ears, the shape of your ears, by turning your head left and right slowly until you hear like a sound and haptic feedback. And after that, so it's like, okay, good, we're gonna get the Vision Pro ready for you. I guess the straps and the sort of the attachment that goes on your forehead. After that, because I have prescription eyeglasses, so they took me into this room, and there's this very nice lady with the same type of machine that you can find at the optometrist's office. Took my glasses and measured like what is it called, like the lenses or the correction necessary. Then I waited for 10 or 15 minutes. Had some coffee. I had a cookie. Apple loves their chocolate chip cookies.
We have had a lot of cookies this week. Sometimes that's been our only meal.
Let me tell you, I've been working on chocolate chip cookies for maybe 3 days. And that was an experience. And then finally they take me into this room, and I did this demo where they take you through these sort of snippets of interaction, like different eras of what Vision Pro will do. And before I let you guys ask me questions, because otherwise I can just keep talking about it and there will be no point in writing a story, I will just say this, that I left the demo thinking that it had been the most mind-blowing moment of my career in writing about Apple, in writing about tech. And because I tend to always second guess myself, I thought, well, maybe you think this because it's the cool new thing and it's recency bias or whatever. Like, sleep on it, think about it. I slept on it and I still feel the same way. It feels like I just tried the future for 30 minutes and then they take that away from you, and it feels strange to go back to using Apple stuff without it.
It was really wild yesterday to meet up with Federico right after he had done his demo, because we went right from that to recording a couple of episodes of AppStories that will get out soon.
And I wasn't talking.
Right, and he wasn't talking, and you could tell he was thinking, and it was almost like you had to snap your fingers to get him out of it. We were trying to get ready for the episodes, and I could tell his mind was just elsewhere, and that it just was an incredible experience. So I'll let it go and let everybody ask some questions, and Federico fill in some more details.
Yeah, Alex, what do you want to know? What you got for me?
Oh man. So I mean, this seems like it's you think it's going to transform the way that you work, right? So what exactly like what is the piece of this that is more than just, okay, I'm looking at some windows floating here? What makes it, transformational in that way, that's more than just like, okay, you could get a couple of big screens and put them around you and work on those? What's the difference?
Yeah, that's a great question. So there's a few aspects to this, I think. The first one is obviously, yes, you have the ability to be in your room or your office or on your couch, whatever, and just spawn these virtual monitors, which is something that we've seen with other VR headsets before. But the quality of the image is incredible. Like, I have a Quest 2, and when you try to browse the web and you see those giant pixels in front of your eyes, that's not fun at all. Whereas with 2 4K displays per eye, like we opened Safari and I just started scrolling in Safari, and it was, to my eyes, and again, they had put the corrective lenses inside, so everything was crystal clear, and Safari felt like looking at Safari on an iPad Pro. Like, it was incredibly crisp and just legible, and just like Safari. And something nice that I noticed, I started scrolling around, so they have these gestures to scroll. Everything sort of revolves around the pinch gesture. So doing this, it's a tap. Pinch and hold kind of is basically the equivalent of a 2-finger swipe. So you scroll. And so I started scrolling around in Safari, and it had the same sort of rubber banding effect of every other Apple device, and that was cool. But the thing is, even beyond the quality of the image, it was the fact that at any point you can take something, you can take a window and move it around and make it as big or small, or as, I guess, close to you or far away from you as you want. And it all becomes it gets very fun to sort of arrange your workspace like that. So the first aspect, I guess, will be, you've seen this before, but the quality of this idea is 10 times better than the competition. And the second aspect is for when you want to work and get really sort of focused on what you're doing. And that's where the environments feature comes in. So you look at this sidebar on the left side of the home view, where you can switch between apps, people, and environments. And you pick an environment. Say there was one at the lake, one on top of a mountain, I think. And you get sort of transported into this photorealistic environment. And by default, you always see your surroundings. This is very much an AR product where it always defaults and goes back to showing you your surroundings. So you start and you see, for example, in your field of view, you see your room. Like left and right, you see your room. But then in front of you, you start seeing the virtual environment. Then you spin the digital crown, and the more you rotate it clockwise, the more sort of the virtual environment sort of starts like engulfing you and like encapsulating you until you're fully in it. And so like you can look down and you can look behind you, and you are in front of a lake or in a forest. And at that point, you can still summon the home view by clicking the digital crown, and this overlay, this grid of apps, it's like a home screen comes up, and you say, all right, I want to write in notes while in front of a lake. And at that point, you're fully in it, in a virtual space. You don't need to travel to the lake, right? You're still sitting on your couch. You got spatial audio going on, so you hear sound effects. And you just start opening windows. And at any point, you can rotate the digital crown counterclockwise to sort of see your surroundings again. If anybody comes in the room and starts talking to you, they fade in your field of view. So you automatically, as soon as they start talking to you, and which is a very nice visual effect.
So that's not like disconcerting or anything. It just feels natural that someone is entering.
It feels natural, and it feels like it feels totally natural. And the quality of the image was just incredible. The both for text, right? I'm a writer, so that's gonna be important for me. Like it's super crisp. But also the quality of the environment and the pass-through, right? Because you're looking at your room, for example, through cameras. These are not really transparent goggles. You're looking through a video feed of your surroundings. And sure, it's not as natural as regular eyesight. Yeah, you can tell that it's a video feed, but it's a really good video feed, and it's totally workable for a 1.0 product. So to answer your question, it's different from similar experiences because the quality is much, much higher. The interaction feels incredibly natural. Like after a few minutes, I was already very accustomed to the gestures. Like, yeah, look around, you press and hold the digital crown, you recenter the home view, and then you look at something, eye tracking, you look at something, you tap your fingers, open. Then you grab something, you move it to the side. It feels like Minority Report in real life, and it's wild.
Wow, that's amazing. Let me ask this. I don't know if you know this. Did you use a keyboard at all? Do you know?
No, there was no keyboard. There was no Mac. They talked about it, and the typing experience was not included in the demo.
Interesting. Here's another really specific question. How do you turn it on?
So you put it on. I think I pressed the digital crown, and it logged me in. You see an animation when it's booting up. Yeah, when you put it on, I think it must have some kind of like accelerometer inside or whatever, because when I put it on, there was this animation in front of me showing like the outline of the Vision Pro and like a flashing indicator saying click the digital crown, and I clicked and it plugged me in.
This episode of AppStories is brought to you by SetApp. SetApp is the first subscription-based service for macOS, iOS, and web apps developed by MacPaw in 2017 that offers developers a source of predictable monthly revenue and seamless user experiences with a commission as low as 10%. SetApp is an efficient way to distribute macOS, iOS, and web apps, and your users get a hassle-free way to access powerful apps with no ads or hidden fees, while you as a developer get an additional way to sell your apps. SetApp has everything from design solutions and software development tools to photo editing apps. In total, it has over 240 macOS, iOS, and web apps for users, and it's growing all the time. The SetApp team takes care of payments, update mechanisms, content marketing, and helpful support to make it easy for developers to work independently and adopt the subscription model hassle-free. Also, SetApp's rating and review feature allows developers to gather valuable feedback from SetApp users, bringing their products to the next level. SetApp shares 70% of each user's fee among developers of the applications that the particular customer uses. In other words, SetApp calculates developers' share in profit per user separately. And on top of that 70%, SetApp gives a guaranteed 20% fee to the partners who brought this particular user to SetApp. To sum up, SetApp vendors may receive up to 90% of the revenue from each user fee every month. SetApp is a strong network of software consumers waiting for the next iOS, macOS, or web app to power their projects. Looking for a new audience for your product? Join SetApp today and bring your product to new users directly. Grow your app with SetApp by joining at setapp.com/developers today. Again, that URL to learn more and sign up for SetApp as a developer is setapp.com/developers. Our thanks to SetApp for their support of the show and our WWDC coverage. I think before we start answering the questions in Discord, I'd like to hear a little bit more about the immersive video, Federico, because you were explaining to me kind of a documentary that you experienced, and it sounded really interesting.
Yeah, there was there were a couple of moments where, and this is where I need to do, I think, a good job trying to convey how I feel in the article. So the immersive video is this 180-degree video format that Apple is sort of working on, and it was this series of clips, this reel of different scenes. And so it starts, and you're like you're in a forest, and you're looking at this look to me like a group of researchers in a forest, and there are baby rhinos, and you're looking at this, and it's totally like all around you, right? And there's this woman scratching the rhino's nose, and with spatial audio, you can hear. I could hear the noise of the thick skin of the rhino and the woman scratching it. And I turned my head, and the audio was following. And I was not wearing AirPods, so it was all using the native sort of built-in speakers thing that they have. Then the scene changes, and you're flying over the ocean, and you look down, and you're 30 meters above water, and you're like flying. Then it changes again, and you are on the top of a skyscraper, and you look down, and you see a city. And then it changes again, and this time the rhinos are coming toward you. And it was so realistic. And again, the video quality was incredible. It looked, it's a 4K display in front of your eyes. And it's not like I was not having eye fatigue or anything. And so the rhino is coming toward you, and instinctively I just reached out with my hand. And because it, like, the simulation is so realistic that it just you just do it because it feels natural to do it. Then the scene, there's a bunch of other clips, and then this video, sort of this 2-minute video sample ends with this woman on a tightrope, just standing on the tightrope, and there's these mountains, with this rope between them, and she's staring directly at you from like 1 meter away. You're like directly in front of her, and she just stares at you. And at the moment, I was like I didn't want to look her in the eye. I was like, is she gonna fall if I distract her? So I looked down, and I saw nothing, and the video stops like that, and it's wild. So that was like, in terms of, and then they had me watch 2 minutes of Avatar 2. So, Jimmy Cameron represent, of course. Avatar 2 in 3D. So, and again, I just saw Avatar 2 in a movie theater with 3D glasses. And I gotta tell you, the quality of the image, like the video itself, it's so much better than those plastic glasses I had to put on. And I said this, and they were like, okay, sure. How about we actually take you into a movie theater? And so they opened what I believe are called video scenes, cinema mode. And I was in an empty movie theater with a giant display in front of me playing Avatar 2 in 3D. So that was nice. And lastly, the thing that I keep thinking about is the spatial photos, but more than that, spatial video. So these are the 3D photos and videos that Apple showed off in the keynote. Kind of creepy, right? In the keynote, showing the dad wearing the Vision Pro at the kid's birthday party and be like, hey, kids, I'm capturing a moment here. And I told them, look, I think this is kind of ridiculous. And I think, eventually, I actually said, I know that you guys do not comment on future products, and I'm not here asking for a comment. This is just my opinion. I really think you should be able to capture these photos and videos with an iPhone. No, And they were like, okay. Obviously, they don't comment on this kind of stuff. But the experience of reliving that moment is something that was, I think, a key moment for me during the demo. Because it felt like being transported into a memory that was happening in front of me. in a way that it, like, look, that those kids at the birthday party were not my kids, but it immediately created, like, I'm trying to describe how I felt. I felt this sense of nostalgia for a moment that wasn't mine. And that was like, it made me think of, like, can you imagine when I will be able to capture, or if I had been able to capture, like, for example, when my dogs were puppies, and sort of years later relive some of those moments when they were playing together as puppies again. And it feels like you can peek around. It's a fully 3D, it's like a little 3D diorama. I'm actually need to write this down. It's like a little 3D diorama and happening live in front, well, quote unquote, live in front of you.
Right.
And you can move around, you can take, and spatial audio is always going on. And it just feels like you're taking back into a moment in time, and then it's over. And that made me think, yeah, can you imagine, like, in the future? And I don't know if this is, to an extent, maybe this is creepy, but I also think it's beautiful. And, so many things in life are kind of like that. Where imagine, seeing a loved one again, like this, right? Like, imagine, capturing, and I do believe that down the road, you'll just be able to take a video with your iPhone, right? And imagine, we're having a nice dinner with friends, and a couple of years later, you just watch it again. I don't know, it felt transformative in a way that very few things since I started covering Apple have felt like that.
Yeah, that's really amazing to me. And I can imagine, people starting out with this, with their new pets or their new kids or whatever it happens to be. It sounds like it's a really powerful experience. I mean, it's really hard to imagine not having actually tried it myself, but I think that's the kind of thing that they need. That's like the killer app, right, Federico?
I think so. And again, I do believe that it's as the only way to capture 3D video. I do think you really need to be able to do it on a phone, not just, I don't want to be the guy while we're having a moment with my girlfriend or my dogs or my friends. I don't want to be the guy be like, hey, let me put on the Vision Pro so I can capture all of this. I do believe it needs to be on a phone, but the experience of reliving those moments it was incredible. Yeah.
All right. Why don't we move to a few of the questions we've had in the town hall chat? I want to first start with this one from Paul about whether you see the Vision Pro becoming an everything device, or whether you think it's going to be more of a companion to your other Apple devices, whether that's, say, working on your Mac or projecting your iPad apps or whatever it happens to be. Where do you think this could be kind of your single computing device?
Well, so if I'm spending most of my time at home, during the week, and I'm by myself, I do think I can see myself sort of just working in it for a few hours each day, and I feel like I'm trying to imagine next year what it'll be like for me. I can see a scenario in which I'm primarily working in it, and then something like an iPad or a MacBook becomes the computer that you can use when you don't wanna or you can't wear, the Vision Pro. But yeah, I do think that FaceTime calls, recording podcasts, finding my concentration when I need to write, because I'm already doing it, right? When I'm at home, if Silvia's at home, I'm like, hey, I'm going into the office and I'm closing the door because I need to write. And at that point, what's the difference between doing that and just, staying in the living room with the Vision Pro? And if she needs something, I'm right there and I can see her, right? Instead of just being in a different room and closing the door. So I do think, yeah, my plan, after, I was already thinking this before trying it, and after trying it, yeah, I will try and use it as sort of my main device for work. But also, like, I think for a few years we'll have to also keep having a laptop or a tablet.
Okay, Lysander asks, how versatile is the gesture recognition? Does it require your hands and arms to be in specific positions in order to see you?
It was very sort of a laid back experience. So I was laying back on this couch, and I was just keeping my hands on my lap. And you don't even need two hands; it's just the one hand you want to use at a time. You don't need to like outstretch your arm in front of you, and because you have cameras pointing down, right? So yeah, it was totally it was very flexible like that. There were a couple of times where my scrolling gesture, so that would be the pinch and hold to move, that was not recognized, and I had to do it again. But otherwise, it was already very, very good. And I would also mention the eye tracking was wild, because it feels like it's basically like your eyes turn into a pointer, but after a few minutes you don't think about it anymore. It's one of those moments where, like, at the beginning you're taken through this setup, you need to look at a bunch of moving circles, and that sort of establishes your eye tracking and where your what's it called? What's it called? The you know. Oh, we don't need to talk about the fact that eyes have holes anymore. We talked about that on Connected. That's gross. But your eye is looking at something. And after a few minutes, it just becomes natural. You don't think about it anymore. You just look at something and you select it and you're done. So, I would say from an interaction perspective, totally an Apple product like that.
So did all the interactions feel pretty natural pretty quickly? Like were you pretty quickly like moving windows back and forth?
Yeah. And I was actually jumping ahead of the demo.
Of course you were.
Yeah, of course, right.
That's a very Federico thing to do.
Because once I got it, I was like, yeah, sure, just let me move things around. And I was invoking the home view, rearranging that. So you have this, I believe it's called the window bar at the bottom of a window. And that's what you grab to sort of move a window around, and like in not just left and right, but also on the Z axis. So in depth, basically. And then you have these ornaments, I believe they're called, on the. It's basically like toolbars, but they're floating on the left side of a window. And that's, for example, where you can switch in the home view between apps, people, and environments. It was all very, very reminiscent of iOS, iPadOS, and you can tell that tvOS too, and you can tell that a lot of the work that's been happening in Apple's design team for the past decade really was maybe in service of something like this, like these indicators, this very clean design, but also at the same time a comeback of, I don't want to say skeuomorphic design, but a comeback of depth, because there's a lot of buttons that feel and look raised, for example, on the surface. A lot of shadows. Every single window casts a shadow on top of the real world. And it was very easy to get going.
I had a question from Jonathan, which is one of the first things I asked you, which is, did you get motion sickness at all?
Nope, zero.
Yeah.
We have, let's see, Zarita asked, did you see the spatial personas? It felt really uncanny in the presentation, but I was curious what your thoughts were. Yes, I did. We did this demo with a FaceTime call, I believe, with another Apple person on the other side of Apple Park, I think. And I know that this has been a different experience for different people who did this demo. And I heard that the spatial personas were not working right for a few people. Mine, thankfully, was perfect. It was not creepy. It was not uncanny. It felt like a slightly pixelated version of a person's face. if and it was 3D, obviously, so you can just and I was like, at one point I said, I'm gonna grab you and move you on top of this other person's head, and they all started laughing. Yeah, it was totally believable. And I said, hey, now you're on top of Alex. I was staring at this two-headed monster.
What are you doing in this demo, Tici?
Hey, look, it's me. I like, it's who I am, you know?
You're having some fun. You're having some fun.
Anything else you guys want to know? And because I'm full of these notes and thoughts. Let's see. Any thoughts on? Paul asks. Any thoughts on fitness applications? Considering the fit and weight, could you see yourself outside walking or running wearing this device? Probably not. I do believe it's gonna be a while before it becomes socially acceptable to wear this in public. Although the one thing I noticed is Apple is obviously trying to normalize this, right? To normalize wearing this in a public space. And I'll give you this tidbit. I've heard from a couple of people this week that there's Apple employees going to Cafe Max wearing it already. Now that it's been announced, you can see somebody just going grabbing a coffee with it and going back to work. So even internally, I think they're trying to normalize this idea of I'm wearing this at the office and it's a normal thing and I can walk around for a few minutes and go back to work and I have the Vision Pro on. But that said, I still wouldn't go out running with it because it kind of looks a bit involved, with the battery pack and the cable and everything.
Yeah, I think maybe you should mention the mindfulness demo that you got, because in terms of fitness and mindfulness and things like that seems like a really good use case for it.
Yeah, so the mindfulness demo was amazing. It was a 1 minute meditation demo where it opens up and you're staring at this 3D sphere made of sort of like colored translucent leaves. And the voice tells you to start, breathing in and out and relax and focus on what's in front of you. And there's spatial audio and everything. So the leaves start moving and sort of spreading around until slowly, in the span of a minute, everything sort of goes black all around you. It starts in AR. So you see this sphere, like, say, on the kitchen table. And then everything sort of starts fading around you until you're basically in total darkness, right? You're in this black void with these colored leaves and this relaxing music playing in spatial audio. And these leaves just flying around you, all around you. And they're like it's almost like you become part of the sphere in a way. And then it ends. And when it ended, I was like, I think I was smiling because the two Apple people in the room were like, well, it seems like you liked it. I was like, yeah, that was cool. And I do believe that this device, from a mental health perspective, I do think it will be an incredible tool to have, even just in terms of meditating, and sort of unwinding for a few minutes, being taken to a place where you feel calm or safe, or where you don't have to worry about things, right? So even just from a meditation perspective, I think it's going to be a really expensive but a really good tool for sure. Jonathan asks, hey Jonathan, is there anything you thought just didn't work well? Seems like you loved everything. Well, more than that, I think I would have liked to see more. The typing experience, using notes and calendar, doing teachy stuff with it, like productivity stuff. None of the things I saw were broken in terms of like that just didn't work. I guess the gestures, like I mentioned before, a couple of times were not recognized. But everything else, look, I get it. Like it's a handcrafted demo designed to make you feel a certain way and to make you experience certain parts of the thing that are super polished already, and maybe everything else is broken at the moment. But wasn't that also the point of the first iPhone demo? That it was designed to make you feel a certain way, to make you see certain things that were already extremely polished for an unreleased product. And so, I loved everything I saw. Like, why would I have to lie? Now, this idea of we were talking about this yesterday. This idea of neutrality in tech reporting, where but there must be something that you hated about. No, and there wasn't. Honestly, there wasn't a single thing I thought, I don't like it. No, I loved it. Honestly, I loved it.
Yeah, I think he absolutely did. I mean, having seen Federico right after he did the demo, I mean, he was really glowing afterwards. And it's like, but as he said, I mean, we haven't seen everything. He didn't get to try everything. I would love to see what it's like to type on this thing and how you integrate, a pointing device or just typing so you can see the keyboard, whether that's going to be virtual, whether it's going to be a pass-through video, or however that is accomplished. And there are other aspects of it that, I guess you didn't see your own spatial representation, for instance, because that wasn't the point of view that he was demoing from. So there's a lot that remains to be seen. And I think we've got months and months before we'll actually see this thing in real life. But it certainly sounds promising at the outset. I think that there's a lot of potential here.
Yeah. And as I told them at the end of my demo, the worst part of the demo was that I was gonna have to wait until next year for it. I think it's gonna be this product is honestly gonna be a big deal for us at MacStories. I feel like I came away thinking this is the next big change in what we cover, in what we use, in sort of the kind of reporting that we do. And so, you just gotta wait until 2024, and in the meantime, we got a bunch of software updates to cover. So we'll keep busy, and then eventually I'll come to the US to buy one, because who knows when Italy is getting it. So,
yeah, we'll figure that out one way or the other for you, Federico. All right, everybody, we're going to wrap it up there. So this is going to be our last live episode in Discord. We've got a couple of other episodes coming, though, because we did some interviews that will be published. My guess is probably tomorrow. It really comes down to how much time I have and when I can get it done. But today's our first day that's really kind of quiet, so we've got some time to do some more writing and podcasting, editing, and that kind of thing. So thanks again for joining us today. Thanks to Federico and Alex for joining me here in Alex's hotel room, who's, Alex's fiance has been kicked out now 3 days running, and she's been a real sport about it.
Yes, she was. She has been. Yeah.
So thanks again, and we will talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.
Ciao, John.
See you guys.